Good evening and many thanks for joining us. You're watching QTV and we're broadcasting live from our studios on Caraba Avenue. I am Ansman Esonyasi and this is the news. Well, here are the main news headlines. President Barrow visited the British High Commissioner's residence on Monday, where he signed the condolence book for Queen Elizabeth II, who died on Thursday, aged 96. And there was travel disruption and long queues on roadsides on Monday as commercial drivers staged a nationwide sit-down strike following the General Transport Union's disagreement with government about increasing fares and other matters. And still on the strike, QTV spoke to the president of the General Transport Union and the Commissioner of Mobile Traffic Unit of the Gambia Police Force about how the situation can be resolved. Relying on a parliamentary convention, the Speaker of the National Assembly has ruled that all pending bills or businesses of the 5th legislature, which is the previous parliament, can be reintroduced or reinstated to the 6th legislature, which is the current parliament. And in the sports news, Senegal defeated neighbors Gambia on Sunday 1-0 to become champions of the WAFU Zone A Under-20 Championship held in Mauritania. So stay tuned as we bring you more on these and other stories. Thanks for staying with us. And now here's the news in focus. President Barrow visited the British High Commissioner's residence in Cape Point on Monday, where he signed the condolence book for Queen Elizabeth II, who died on Thursday, aged 96. Alucise spoke to the president and the British High Commissioner, and here is an excerpt.
How do you feel, after you heard the news of the demise of the Queen?
When we heard the news, it was really very shocking, because I can remember very well when I attended the Commonwealth Head of State meeting in 2018. I sat next to the Queen, and she has been there also for 70 years. So I think it's a shock to the entire world, especially the British people. That's why I said I have to come and sympathize with the ambassador and extend my condolences on behalf of myself, my family, and the entire country. But I think it's a big loss to the entire world. As I was even discussing with the ambassador, I said, like 70 years, such things haven't happened in Britain. I think it's a big shock to everybody. But we still pray for her. May her soul rest in peace.
And now the crown has been handed over to the new king, King Charles. Where do you foresee the relationship between Banjul and London?
Well, I think the relationship is strong, and we will continue to improve on the relationship. And I can remember also, he also came here to visit the Gambia. We have already built that relationship between our two of us. And he is very experienced, about 73 years. So I think he is well ready for the position to strengthen our relationship.
High Commissioner, any statement regarding the President's visit?
I was just very grateful that His Excellency the President came today. It is a big shock to us all. And I think this is a symbol of the close ties between our nation, the fact that we're standing here today. But we're moving now into a new era. As you mentioned earlier, we have a new king, and it's a new time for the Commonwealth, and for us to renew those ties and those shared values that we have within the Commonwealth, values of democracy and freedom and human rights.
Thank you so much.
Well, our condolences to the people of Great Britain and the rest of the Commonwealth. Now, there was travel disruption and long queues on roadsides on Monday as commercial drivers staged a nationwide strike following the General Transport Union's disagreement with government about increasing fares and other matters. Ajimento Drame has more.
Last week, the General Transport Union announced a sit-down strike on Monday, unless government met their demands, which include reducing the high fuel price, high price of toll fees at the Senegambia Bridge, unnecessary checkpoints and expensive mandatory fines on the roads. Westfield Bakau Garage and the Serakunda Birkama Garage were among garages we visited, which were not operational due to the strike. Many commuters were waiting in the hope of getting a vehicle. The few drivers operating were charging more than the usual price according to commuters, in some cases double the fare. We spoke to Maune Sila and Jenaba Jame, who said they have been waiting for a long time to get a vehicle. At the Serakunda Birkama Garage, taxis and vans were charging more than the usual fare, with ranges from $10 to $75, and charging from $100 up to $150 today. Modumbai, the chef of the Serekunda Birkama garage, says he discourages drivers from charging more in this situation. However, he also calls on the government to meet the drivers' demands.
I am pleading with the government to have mercy on these people. See how the garage is empty. People are paying taxes $100 from Serekunda to Lamen, $75 from here to Latrikunda. It's a pity. The government should meet the drivers' demands to address this situation.
Mohamed Sise, a driver who is against drivers staging the strike, pleads with drivers to get back to work.
Don't worry, but because I have a family.
I can't sit doing nothing. I have a family and I must make ends meet. I have siblings and schools are about to resume. If we don't work, we won't get money.
Yeah, 50. Mine didn't bring money, so 50.
I charge $50 from Serekunda to Brikama because my vehicle takes 7 passengers. When I arrive here, some drivers are charging $100. That's too much, honestly.
During this situation, the GTSC buses could be seen operating and ferrying commuters to their destinations. Despite that, the demand from commercial vehicles was still high as many people were stranded. Police officers were also deployed in various garages in the Greater Banjul area to ensure that there was no trouble. This strike by commercial drivers follows the chaos, travel disruptions, and long queues at petrol stations on the 2nd of September, while oil marketing companies decided to withhold the sale of fuel to the public. Now, commuters are hoping for the government and the General Transport Union to negotiate and come to a compromise. Ajibintu Drame, QTV News.
Quite a stressful situation, and still on the strike, hundreds of people intending to travel to work or run errands were stranded along the Brikama-Westfield Highway. Well, we spoke to the president of the General Transport Union and the commissioner of Mobile Traffic Unit of the Gambia Police Force about how the situation can be resolved. Ahmad Pijalo reports.
Commuters in the Greater Banjul areas this morning have been stranded by the Brikama-Westfield highways as they wait in vain for transport to their intended destinations. The Gambia Transport Union has announced an indefinite strike with effective from today, Monday, the 12th of September 2022, until their demands are met. The demands include the ability to increase fares, reducing the cost of fuel, the price of toll fees at the Senegambia Bridge, expensive mandatory fines on the roads, unaccountable number of police checkpoints along the highways, among others. Omar Sise is the president of the Gambia Transport Union.
We already understand it will going to affect the general public, even including the drivers. But we feel so it's the right moment to do industrial action because we have exhausted all the diplomatic protocols. We don't see any commitment from our ministry on the subject matter.
Although no vote was taken by members for a strike, the GTU president further stated that they are in contact with almost all commercial vehicle drivers and have asked them to honor the union's decision to strike until their demands are fulfilled by the authorities.
Still, we don't have any call from the government. We will go to maintain our position because if government care people, how many people suffered, how many people face challenges today. We as protesters, we are part of the government. They are mandate to protect us, but still they sit in our office, enjoy their AC, they feel nothing happened. So we will continue our protest until feel we are part of the system.
Responding to the allegation of having close to 100 police checkpoints along the Trans-Gambia Highway, Lamin King Colley, the Commissioner Mobile Traffic Unit of the Gambia Police Force, said there are only 8 official police checkpoints from Banjul to Basse.
Number one, by looking at the checkpoints, that is not true. The number that he was speaking, that is not true. From Banjul to Basse, we are able to count 8 checkpoints, and which any reasonable Gambians will know that those things are good. You cannot leave your country like that. People coming in, they didn't see the security.
As we move around, we saw GTSC buses picking up commuters at designated bus stops along the Brikama-Westfield Highway. However, despite these pickups by the buses, a lot more people remain stranded along the highway. Omar Sise made these apologies to the commuting public.
My apology to them. It's not my choice, but my organization and my members, their decision, forced me to do that. But it's not bad. But that's why I announced it before the day. That's why since Friday I declared this. I will do this. But some people think I'm just joking. Some people think I'm just joking. Some people it's not going to make impact, but I think everybody say it. But we are concerning Gambian. We are monitoring. We are not feel happy today because we see our mothers, our fathers, they are working. We don't feel that's not. We are not happy with that. But inshallah, it's not the hand of our people. So we are discussing. We are moving forward. But the union is here to stay. We have to here to protect the welfare of our members, no matter what.
Following the strike announcement by the union, the Ministry of Transport informed the public that it is working with the Gambia Transport Service Company GTSC to fully deploy its fleet of buses across the Greater Banjul area to ease public transport. At the time of this broadcast, there had been no word of whether negotiations were progressing to end this strike. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
And the report there by Omar P. Jallo will lead us to the commercial break, but the news continues when we return.
Are you an entrepreneur or do you run a business and need exposure and visibility? The Gambia Youth Chamber of Commerce in partnership with Gambia Women's Chamber of Commerce brings you the 4th edition of National Youth and Women in Agribusiness and Tourism Trade Fair with variety of amazing products from remarkable youth and women in the Gambia. This year's trade fair will also showcase participants from Senegal, Mali, Niger and Guinea-Bissau to embrace the AFCFTA opportunities. Some of the amazing events will include kids runway and trade fashion shows, waste management and innovation competition, Women's Day celebration and series of entertainment, cultural displays and dance performance. Seize this opportunity and come showcase your business from 30th November to 18th December 2022 at the GCCI National Trade Fair Grounds in Brusubi Turntable. Call the following numbers now to book for your stalls: 22-47337 or 368-5556 or 203-1080 Newcastle Trade Fair.
Hello and welcome to US Embassy Gambia Today, a podcast brought to you by US Embassy Banjul. This weekly podcast will feature leaders and our partners in the Gambia. Join us every Wednesday as we broadcast these informative episodes from our American Corner studio at Afrisal in Bundung. We are on Spotify, Google, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcast. You can also follow the program on our Facebook and Twitter pages at US Embassy Banjul. US Embassy Gambia Today, bringing the Gambia and the United States closer.
Welcome back from that commercial break. We remind that you're following QTV News and we're broadcasting live from our studios on Kairaba Avenue. Now, relying on parliamentary convention, the Speaker of the National Assembly has ruled that all the pending bills or businesses of the 5th legislature be reintroduced or reinstated to the 6th legislature. The ruling, inspired by a legal and procedural matter, raises the question on what happens to parliamentary business, especially pending bills that were being considered by the 5th legislature after it was dissolved. Mobalami Choi reports.
The National Assembly resumes from recess for the 3rd ordinary session with its legislative agenda, including the laying of reports and ratification of international legal instruments. Before dealing with this, the National Assembly receives a point of order from the chairman of the Standing Orders Committee, Abdullah Sise, flagging a legal and procedural issue facing the Assembly's business and seeking for the Speaker's ruling.
I wish to invite you, as Honorable Speaker, to invoke your discretionary powers under Standing Order 8 to guide this Assembly about the consequences for unfinished parliamentary businesses in the dissolved National Assembly, which is the 5th legislature, especially bills. Bearing in mind the convention that the National Assembly cannot bind its successor assembly. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I submit for your approval. Thank you.
In absence of expressed procedure in the Constitution and the standing orders on how to address the concern, the Speaker of the National Assembly is requested to use his discretion to make a ruling on parliamentary convention, quote unquote, that a National Assembly cannot bind its successor assembly. Fabakary Tombong Jatta, the Speaker of the Assembly, reads out his ruling.
Neither the Constitution nor statute law deal with the issue of what happens to parliamentary business, including the passage of bills when the National Assembly is dissolved. However, it is generally recognized in jurisdictions based on the Westminster parliamentary system that Parliament ends with its dissolution, and when Parliament is dissolved, all incomplete or unfinished business of Parliament is terminated.
In the previous assembly, there were several bills tabled by government for consideration, many of which are still pending and at different stages. However, the previous assembly, that is the 5th legislature, was dissolved after the expiration of its term in April this year.
Where a government is unable to complete the legislative process regarding its bills before the National Assembly is dissolved, a successor assembly may, in certain circumstances, be inclined to consider preventing crucial bills from falling by creating a legislative window of opportunity for government to carry them over.
Considering the long-standing parliamentary convention that the National Assembly cannot bind its successor assembly, the Speaker makes a ruling in our local context.
I hereby rule that the convention be adopted to suit our local parliamentary context as follows. That the National Assembly adhere to the long-standing parliamentary convention to the extent possible in our local context. That all incomplete or unfinished government bills of the 5th legislature may be reinstated or reintroduced in this successor assembly, that's the 6th legislature, subject to a motion by the person in charge of the bill.
A legislative carryover means that bills are allowed to continue their progress from one parliament to another, which means all the pending bills are to be reintroduced or reinstated in the same form in the next ordinary session, at a time to be decided by the National Assembly's Business Committee. Mohamed Lamin Choi, QTV News.
And we still stay with my colleague Mohamed Lamin Choi as he reports that the Gambia Red Cross Society is commemorating International Red Cross Day, an annual event which promotes awareness raising on the significance of first aid. This year, for the first time, World First Aid Day is celebrated with a national first aid competition among Red Cross volunteers on the delivery of first aid services.
First aid volunteers of the Gambia Red Cross Society from all the regions across the country were gathered to celebrate the World First Aid Day. Among the attendees of this event are the Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society and other dignitaries. World First Aid Day is celebrated on the second Saturday in September as an annual campaign to promote first aid training to save lives all around the globe. Jato S. Silla is the national president of the Gambia Red Cross Society.
We at the Gambia Red Cross, we will continue, one, to advocate for saving lives without discrimination, include people of all ages in first aid training, especially those who are left behind, increase first aid training in schools and workplaces, develop first aid training which is accessible and relevant for each target group.
The theme for this year's celebration is lifelong first aid learning. Given the significance of first aid, the Gambia Red Cross Society is on a mission to promote and champion first aid training across the country. Alassane Senghor is the Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society.
For us at the Gambia Red Cross, we will continue to train our volunteers, but of course, what we want to see a multiplier effects of the training that we do. That it goes down to the fact that every family, and our wish is every family, at least we have a minimum of 2 people that are trained in first aid. This is the minimum that we should ask for. And this is going to be the objective. As head of the management of this institution, this is our objective, and this is what we want to work towards with you, the volunteers, to ensure this is achieved.
The Gambia Red Cross Society has branches and volunteers in all regions in the Gambia who provide humanitarian response during emergencies. The Deputy Director of Health Services, Dr. Momodo Tinyasi, acknowledges the Gambia Red Cross Society's contribution to saving lives during emergencies.
First aid is very important, and we have been receiving this support from the training conducted by Red Cross Society, and it has helped us in saving a lot of lives, and it has also helped us to save costs, and it has also helped us to improve living conditions. And without wasting much time, Mr. Chair, I would like also once again to emphasize that the importance Red Cross has been playing in this country, especially supporting the Ministry of Health, cannot be underestimated.
To promote and foster awareness on first aid, the World First Aid Day was marked with a national first aid competition with participants representing all 7 regions in the Gambia. Participants answered questions and performed practical first aid responses in an emergency. At the end of the competition, contestants from the West Coast region were declared the champions, with Banjul and CRR emerging 2nd and 3rd respectively. Mohamed Lamin Choi, QTV News.
And we now take a look at sports news in a moment. Senegal defeated neighbors Gambia 1-0 on Sunday to become champions of the WAFU Zone A Under-20 Championship held in Mauritania. Our sports reporter Mohamed Gachaga has been following the final and he now reports.
It was a case of sweet revenge for Senegal and disappointment for the Gambia as the young Scorpions failed to defend their title. The young Lions celebrated knowing they lost to their neighbors 2 years ago on home soil. Senegal took the lead in the 63rd minute after a run on the right, leading to a mixed-up by the defender and goalkeeper in the Gambia box. Senegal forward Samba Diallo capitalized with a diving header. The Gambia team was under intense pressure from the Senegalese players. The young Lions had more of the possession, especially in the second half, while Gambia had to do a lot of defending. The young Scorpions were also trying to avenge their defeat to Senegal in the group stage of this year's competition, where they lost 1-0. Despite making some efforts to get an equalizer in the dying moments, their performance fell short. Senegal defended well to ensure they are champions. As the 2 finalists from the WAFU Zone A, Senegal and the Gambia qualify for the CAF Under-20 African Championship to be held in Egypt in 2023. Mumudu Gajaka, QTV News.
And with that report there by Mumudu Gajaka, I'm afraid this is where we draw the curtains on this bulletin. But before we take a leave of you, here's a recap of our main headlines. President Barrow visited the British High Commissioner's residence on Monday, where he signed the condolence book for Queen Elizabeth II, who died on Thursday, aged 96. And there is travel disruptions and long queues on roadsides on Monday as commercial drivers stage a nationwide sit-down strike following the General Transport Union's disagreement with government about the increment of fares. And still on the strike, QTV spoke to the president of the General Transport Union, the Commissioner of Mobile Traffic Unit of the Gambia Police Force, about how the situation can be resolved. And relying on a parliamentary convention, the Speaker of the National Assembly has ruled that all pending bills or businesses of the 5th Legislature, which is the previous parliament, can be reintroduced or reinstated to the 6th Legislature, which is the current parliament. And in sports news, Senegal defeated neighbors Gambia 1-0 to become champions of the WAFU Zone A Under-20 Championship held in Mauritania on Sunday. That's it for this bulletin. Do join us at 10 p.m. for more news. Thanks for watching.